lower slaughter in the Cotswolds. I got to thank the Hadwins for this wonderful little movie clip for the use of. Hadwins are a YouTube family worth a watch. Just one thing before we start, and I always tell my students this, and it takes a long time to cotton on, but when you do a painting and you show it to people or hang it on the wall or exhibit the thing or whatever you do, the painting will always be seen in isolation. It doesn't have the reference stuck next to it to compare it. I mean, even people like Turner, when he did his sort of grand voyage, he started moving mountains because they weren't in the right place. You can get away with a lot of things. And I always say to my students, don't be the slave to what you see, be the master of what you want. And I think that's really important. But it is hard to move away from the image you're looking at and try and replicate that. But what will win at the end of the day is you painting something in your style, which becomes unique and it captures the atmosphere rather than the accuracy. I think that's pretty important. Without any further ado, let's get on with the painting. Here we are, 4B pencil, working on the Saunders Waterford High White quarter sheet, quarter imperial that is. Has to be a good thickness, and it's always worth using the best watercolour paper when you're doing a watercolour. Okay, I've done a fairly quick drawing. I haven't drawn every single thing. The reason for that is because you paint the detail. In fact, you draw in all the detail with the brush, not the pencil. So the less you do with the pencil, the better it is and the cleaner it becomes. You can see that I'm working on my first light wash, using a bit of raw sienna, getting it sort of nice and red, adding some red, adding some burnt sienna as well. I've done the sky in a light cerulean. I've come down to a raw sienna, and I'm just really getting on. I'm putting the background in, as it were. I'm just getting I'm using a nice mop style brush. It holds a lot of fluid. I'm keeping the pigment fairly light. I'm not going dark. The dark bits are done at the end in watercolour, unlike other oil and acrylic where you start dark. In watercolour you start light and you gradually get darker and darker. Watercolour's like a game of chess. You have to think it through from the beginning. You have to consider where you're going to be in a few stages' time. So it's just getting that light wash done first. Now we've done the light wash. Now we're going to start getting into slightly darker values now, mid-tones, and starting to shove some of that bits of foliage, the trees, over the top of the blue sky. Getting a few super darks in already. I've decided to go for that tree. When I say super darks, I'm using a high concentration of sepia, which is warm, and French ultramarine, which is cool. And if you mix them both together, you get a lovely neutral grey, a very dark neutral grey. So I like using calligraphy. I like what I'm doing right now. I'm drawing with a brush. I've got a fine pointed number 10 sable brush from Rosemary & Co. Beautiful point to it. Really nice to draw with. I'm now ticking in just nice clean washes a la Edward Wesson, as Edward Wesson would have done this. Just nice washes. Now getting a little bit darker in places on the tree, putting in a nice bit of glazing on the rooftops, and just starting to build the painting as we go along. This is what it's all about. Now pushing in darker reds. Just needed to be a little bit darker, especially on the shadow side of the building, which was fairly important. Just gonna tick in now some of those windows, and I've got some super darks in the brush again. I'm going through the phase that I call this calligraphy. That's probably not a great description because calligraphy is about lettering at the end of the day, but I like using that because it is a type of ticking in. It's sort of, it gets to work really well. Pushing in even deeper reds now, just and running them down into the water, which I thought was really important. Now super darks again coming in from the left. I'm using a bit of rigger work now, just putting in a few more marks here and there, just some little bits and pieces. Now I've decided to look at the roofs and just put in some marks to suggest a little bit more detail. It's really a call at the end of the day. You need to make decisions like that, whether you really need that detail or not. I felt I really needed it. It's looking good at the moment. You can see I'm cleaning my palette because I'm still not happy. I still want to get dark. And what I'm doing, I'm now cranking up the values. Really, I'm pushing in really quite strong. These are super dark colours of French ultramarine with a little dab of alizarin crimson. It just gives it that purpley sort of look. And you can see that the light elements of the painting are beginning to sing, because when light sits next to dark, it really stands out. Well, here's the finished painting. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and maybe come and join me on one of my retreats. All the information is on my website, which is frankwatercolours.com. Take care. Bye.